Today we will talk about what I believe to be one of the biggest mistakes at Château de Chaumont. This is simply commentary. I love the channel and watching the progress. However, there is always room for improvement and analysis. Please like and subscribe for more content. When Dan Preston bought Château de Chaumont, there was no roof. Just beams, sky, and a dream. He thought he could build one himself. For years later, that dream became reality, but at what cost? Today, we're talking about what might be Dan's boldest and most time-consuming choice at Chaumont, the long, winding saga of the missing roof. When Dan bought Château de Chaumont, he didn't just buy a fixer-upper. He bought a stone skeleton. The central tower was intact, the wings were standing, but the main roof, non-existent. Where most buyers would have turned away, Dan leaned in. He believed he could build it himself, board by board, slate by slate, and that's where this story really begins, with a roofless dream and a very ambitious plan. Rather than bring in a full team of contractors or roofing specialists, Dan made a fateful decision. He would do most of the work himself. This meant sourcing materials, designing the roof structure, reinforcing the walls, climbing scaffolding, and hoisting beams, with only part-time help. On YouTube, it was captivating. A single man rebuilding a 19th-century chateau roof? It felt like watching history in the making. But behind the scenes, for most people it would likely mean delays, setbacks, and massive physical strain. The roof took 4 years to complete. Not because Dan didn't care, but because he was trying to do something that usually takes a full crew alone. He had to first rebuild the support walls. Then craft trusses. Then find reclaimed slate that matched the region. Every step required tools, money, and time, resources Dan often had in short supply. By 2022, viewers were growing concerned. Some even said that the rest of the building can't wait much longer. Please hire help, and honestly? They had a point. Without a roof, the chateau was exposed to the elements. Rain damaged floorboards. Wind loosened beams. Frost crept into cracks. Every season without shelter meant compounding damage, and this wasn't just cosmetic. The longer the building stayed open, the greater the risk of long-term structural issues, especially with 19th-century masonry. In construction, timing matters. And in restoration, it can mean the difference between preservation and total loss. Of course, the building has sat without a roof for decades, but preventing another couple years of damage to the chateau would likely have been invaluable. So why didn't Dan hire a roofing company to begin with? Likely, budget and passion. But let's talk numbers. A professional roofing team might have cost €100. 000 euro 150,000 upfront. But they could have finished it in under 6 months. By doing it alone over 4 years, Dan paid in different ways, lost revenue from unfinished rooms, delayed monetization on Airbnb or events, replacing weather-damaged interiors. Dan saved money, but time, energy, and opportunities bled out like a leaking slate seam. Now, credit where it's due. The finished roof is gorgeous, slate tiles sparkle in the sun. The angles are historically accurate. The central tower base blends beautifully with the rest. And Dan did it without compromising on authenticity, that attention to detail. You just don't get that from a contractor on a timeline. Was it slow? Yes. But was it personal? In every beam, yes. Still maybe, just maybe, he should have hired contractors from the start. If a team had taken on the roof in year 1, Dan could have sealed off the house from rain, started interior renovation earlier, opened the chateau to guests earlier, reduced long-term damage, and the YouTube content? It might have been more frequent, not less, because Dan wouldn't have been drowning in structural tasks, which often become laborious or tedious to watch. Sometimes, the best DIY decision is knowing when not to do it yourself. If you're dreaming of your own chateau, take notes from Dan's journey. Here's what you need to remember: if there's no roof, assume major delays. DIY is noble, but don't let it become too much. Hiring experts isn't cheating, it's investing. The faster you close off the structure, the safer your interiors. YouTube viewers love watching progress, not just problems. Dan's story isn't a failure. It's a real look at what happens when dreams meet hard stone and soft budgets. Dan did something extraordinary. He built a roof over a ruined chateau, mostly by hand. It took years. It tested him. And yes, maybe he should have hired help, but that roof? It's more than just slate and timber. It's a symbol of grit, of stubborn hope, of figuring it out, even when the sky's literally falling. Would you have done it differently? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Chateau deep dives. Feel free to check out the merch for my channel Chateau walls in the description. From open sky to covered sanctuary, this was the story of the longest roof in YouTube Chateau history. And the man who refused to give up on it.